Because sometimes we take the time to do that. By taking the time to do that, we can open up other doors for them.
Thank you, brother. Go ahead, Steve.
I want to just touch on what Brother Marlon said. I mean, the last time that you asked me to come here, I spoke on it, but I mean, as a people, we got to wake up to the fact that we are at war. We're behind enemy lines. If you want to know why our children are so crazy, it's because as a people, we're under domination. As Dr. Amos Wilson said, domination causes conflict within your community. You know, we as a black community, you know, you have Chinatown, you have Little Italy. You know, these are communities that are alive. You know what I mean? Because they spread that dollar. And if you were to look at that dollar and equate it to blood, then the blood circulating through your body gives you an indication that the body is alive. So what does the black community look like? Because there's no dollar circulating through the black community. And since there's no dollar circulating through the black community because we refuse to give it to self and we want to give it to other than self, then we can't employ our children. So not being able to employ our children, of course they're running in the street because everybody else is basically able to employ their children off of our ignorance and off of our lack of love for self. Now take me for instance. Let's use me as an example, right? So what is this culture of disrespect? Culture gives, first of all, what is culture? You know, as I said, we were robbed of our culture. So the culture that we have today as a people is not our culture. It's not our culture. No rites of passage programs for our black men. No programs to show our women how to respect themselves. Walking down the street in pajamas and slippers on, giving you an indication that this person hasn't even taken a shower when they woke up. So, what is culture? Culture is basically a code of conduct. A code of conduct. But we don't have a defined code of conduct in our community. Our culture is being dictated to us through the airwaves. So you wonder why our children are disrespectful, that they're being programmed by an external force. Because, and it just, I mean, this subject really burns me up, man. Because Negroes, black brothers and sisters, elderly, like you said, that sister not going to say thank you. And so there's a saying that you can tell a tree by the fruit it bears. So when we look at the children, we have to look at the elders. And I'll end it with this. Code of conduct, and also it gives you a way of solving problems. Culture gives you and I an insight into our problems. And the problem is that black people, I mean, it's such a simple thing, but black people, we don't have a knowledge of self and kind. And as a consequence, we don't have a knowledge of our open enemy. I mean, this sister Sandra Bland, she gets pulled over for not putting on her turn signal, but what many might not know is that she pulled over because the police car had pulled up to her at such a close distance that she felt uncomfortable, so she pulled over thinking that he needed to go somewhere, and then he pulled her over. Then this white man comes up to the car. He's saying, he's looking at her, and you know how white people look at you. You know what, some of you might love white people, that's on you. Because I'm going to talk about this open enemy. He comes up to the sister, and he's asking her questions, and she's complying with the questions. He asked her a question that she answered, and then he was upset that she answered the question. And then to exert his control, he asked the sister in her car, "Will you mind please putting out that cigarette?" "No, I don't want to put the cigarette out. It's my cigarette in my car," she said. And then all of a sudden it gets out of hand. But was she looking for trouble or was he looking for trouble? He was looking for trouble. And then the next thing we know, our sister is dead. And so they say that a black man and black woman die in this country from the police every 28 hours. Man, this is horrible.
Can I ask, I just want to ask a question on that, Pastor Campese. You come on up and speak, Pastor. But I want to just throw that question out there. Because are conservative, and they feel as though speaking out against racism is not appropriate. But the question is racism sin? Because the churches don't, folks, we get awfully timid about those subjects. Because we don't want to bear the cross of the persecution, I believe, that we're going to face. We think they're going to come and take something from us, you know, and they will. They will, but, you know, Jesus had to go to the cross, you know what I'm saying? If Jesus had not made the sacrifice, then where would we be? And so, sometimes freedom has to come with some bloodshed and some sacrifice. Amen? Go ahead, Pastor.
I just want to really for a moment. If we're talking about the culture of disrespect, and we have a little girl in here, Mackenzie, who is white, and we're talking about white people the way we're doing, I think that's disrespect. That's the first thing that I want to say as the pastor of this church. It was only today when this little girl said, "Pastor, I want to be baptized." If she leaves this place, what kind of understanding does she have? We're angry. We're not discussing the issue here. Okay? So I really want to say to us, when we talk about respect, are we pushing to be feared or respect means something? All right? Because culture is not stated. Culture is not stated. There's no culture that is being what it was and it's still. I'm originally from Africa, where every black person in this country is trying to go back. You will not live there if you go there with this mentality. They will kick you out of the black community. Because we're not looking for angry people. Black folk, young people, our youth are looking for people to look up to, not angry people with no results, no fruit. Once upon a time, this country was moved by people who stood up. And it was the church that gave back to us as a people. All right? So I think for me, I really didn't want to say anything, but I think if we get to a point where we are now trying to create, I don't know whatever it is, but as pastor of the church, I don't think that's a spirit that I endorse. If we're discussing respect, let's discuss respect. There's nothing to do with your personal opinion. Because if it was about your personal opinion, I would have never even allowed you to state your personal opinion. Okay? So one thing I want to say is this, listen. Let's discuss ways that get us going. All right? There are issues that are there, I understand that. But there are also great opportunities that are here. We don't just have problems, we have opportunities as well. What are we doing with those opportunities? Our youth, they're a reflection of us. I think one of you guys said it. The home is the first institution. You are not going to get someone's kid off the street and try. Our young people are simply reproducing what we're producing. Okay, it starts with us. At some point, as a people, we need to honor to our state. I'm not saying we're 100% responsible. I'm not saying that, get me right. But we cannot keep on pushing it to somebody else. Somebody says, you may fail as many, I'll give it to you. You may fail as many times as you can. You are not a failure no matter how many times you fall, but you become a failure the time you blame someone for your fall. Alright? So here's the deal. Let me speak as an African to my African American brothers here and sisters. When you look at it, the black man who is here, all the slaves, I don't know where the history people read it from, all the guys who came here as slaves were champions where they came from. A weakling would have never survived the sea and get over to America. The tallest black man you ever know, they're in the NBA, and all of them are African Americans. At some point, you're drinking the wrong Kool-Aid. That makes you think you are the champions of the black race that got here. Messed up with the system, we understand that. But we're saying there's certain things, guys, that we need to deep in and pull out. If we keep on feeding this anger, I mean, you're talking about the young girl who casted you. I mean, right now you don't know who to talk to. You know, the kids can kill you and walk away like nothing has ever happened. But they've seen us. As adults, we need to own up some things. If we keep on saying, you cannot come to my kids and tell them what to do. I mean, let's get real. All of us are afraid of each other's kids now. You know, because you don't know. They will tell you, man, I'm not your children. But once upon a time, all of us here were raised by grandmama, mom and them, and we all know what they used to do. That generation is gone. It's dying. Our educated generation, our suburbia generation. Whenever we make money, we leave the community. Let's get real now. You know, we leave the hood because we've made a little bit of money. And what's happening is, as we move up, back to that thing, we cannot stay in the hood. You cannot have a master's, a PhD, and stay in the project. You cannot do that. It's unsustainable. So I think my whole thing is to say, look, number one, you know, for the sake of my little girl who is here, I think black, white, that kind of language has no place in any progressive society. In any progressive society. That cannot define people.
With all due respect,
Sure.
when I invited these gentlemen here,
Sure.
and they didn't come here to disrespect, they've been here before. They didn't come here to disrespect anybody.
I appreciate it.
I don't even really believe they recognized the young lady was here. But just be honest, Pastor, this is a black church. And black people have specific problems that we're going to fix. I don't think these guys are angry. I think maybe we are angry sometimes, but we have a reason to be angry. And part of our process of healing is to express that anger, Pastor. Let me just finish.
I'm with you on
And
that.
we're not trying to go back to Africa. But you're wrong on that. You're wrong on that. And another thing, Pastor, your experience in Africa is not the same as our experience in America.
I understand. I've been here for 20 years.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not, Pastor. And so
Okay, let's do this
I think you all
okay, for the
feel-
sake of the people. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Can I say something? I mean, white can't judge all white people the same. There are individual white people. However, you know, slavery happened almost 3 centuries. 3 centuries. That's 100 years. A century is 100 years. Most of the white people who owned slaves were in the South, very small minority. But the complicity of the majority kept that thing going for 3 centuries. Close to 3 centuries. When we look at the Underground Railroad, there was a reason why it was underground. Because those whites who would help slaves, the small majority of whites who would help slaves, if they were found out, they would be killed too. So there's no disrespect to her. But the reality is, my brother, is that we are being murdered today. We're being murdered through the food. There's a report that just come out talking about vaccines and this high rate of autism with young black boys. We just see the police reports every day. Our children, Sister Iris can tell you, are being murdered mentally in the school system. No lack of knowledge of self whatsoever. So, I mean, brother, I understand what you're saying. And I don't mean to offend that young white girl, but unfortunately, as Muhammad Ali said, you got 1,000 snakes coming towards your door. If only 100 of those 1,000 snakes are poisonous, you're not going to let none of those snakes in. I apologize for saying that, but the reality is that as a community, it's time for us to close the doors and have a family discussion.
But let me make 3 points. First point, I'm a foot soldier. Second time I met Dr. King, I was 17. I guess that's the reason I'm holding on to SCLC like I am holding on to SCLC, because I know what it's like to be out there and to be beaten and to be thrown in jail. Most of my life I've dedicated to the community. In the civil rights movement, don't forget about Viola Liuzzo and the Reverend James Reed, who gave their lives. We understand that. We would not be where we are without the contribution of white people in our movement. But I think the reason that the church does not respond today, and all of that's happening to us, and we have to respond, because we are being killed. And they ain't just killing black men now, they're killing black women. The reason some of the churches don't get involved and some of the pastors don't stand up, because as you know, in this community, I've gotten a lot of opposition from preachers. Say, why is he out there demonstrating? Why is he out there fussing? Why is he always on TV? There's someone who wouldn't even let me come in their pulpits. Not because I can preach, because they were afraid of me. But some of these pastors don't get involved because some of them got boards. I pastored. I was just crazy enough if I was going to do it. I didn't care what the board said. If you want to call the bishop and have me move, I'll pack up in the morning and move. But I'm independent like that. But some of the preachers don't get involved because they got a board to say, Reverend, we don't want you doing that. So I got to have, even though I don't agree with it, I do understand it, that some of these preachers ain't coming out their pulpits getting involved because either they owe their soul to the people downtown. We got a preacher now that got a big old grant. He did something that I'm going to bring up real quick that was effective, but sometimes they try to buy you off. They've come to me and offered me money. I told them, no, I don't want no money. I'm about doing what I need to be doing. I don't need you to pay me. But some of the pastors can't get involved because their boards won't let them get involved. Now finally, there was something that we did to deal with crime. If you remember, and I'm going to tell you who was instituted by it. Darrell Ward started it. Remember when we got all the black men together and we marched at night against violence, and we marched in droves, and there were black men, and there were children out there, there were men with their sons, and the women went to the church, and while we were out there marching, the women were praying in the church. We kind of need to do that again. If the church, if the men of the church, the Nation of Islam does it all the time. If the men in our churches would get together with these young men and say, we need to stop and go into that, you might get killed. I'm conscious of death every day, all day. I was raised in this city. I always wondered, is some fool gonna kill me? But that's the chance I take. Because see, Dr. King wasn't killed for dreaming. He's killed because he was a threat to this country. That's one of the solutions that we can do. The men of the churches need to get together all over this city in the light of what has happened to that young man, Mr. Martin. We need to march. We need to hold our political people. And I'm going to do it. I don't know if you're going to be with me or not. But I'm not going to let them get away with that. So that's a solution that we need to be doing. We need to be able to let our religion match what we need to be doing. Finally, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism are all African religions.
Good evening. I wanted to say that I think we're all speaking truths. I think, Brother Mohammed, you're speaking truth, and Pastor is speaking truth, because he said what I wanted to say, and it was a segue to what I wanted to say, because I thought the topic this evening was disrespect, or something like that. And I wanted to talk about that, because I wanted to say that we as black people, I believe in Du Bois' self-help, And I want to know, when are we going to take responsibility for our own actions? When are we going to do that? I have been a single parent. I was raised by an aunt, not my mother. So we do know that. But as a single parent, I went through law school with a welfare card. I went through law school with the ADC card. I understand all that. But let me explain to you, in the system we are in right now, an elder brother is a 31-year-old right now. Because we can't even find anyone who has graduated past the 9th grade. From the 9th grader, their parent, and their parent. And it goes both ways. And so the disintegration of the family, and we can't keep blaming this on other people. It begins at home. It begins with us. And we've been doing it with mama and them, uncles and aunts, for years and for centuries. And somehow we have lost that. And we've lost the respect. And then we just go along to get along. And I think that once we achieve, as the sister said, once we achieve a certain level, we really don't want those people in our churches. We want them over there because they're not clean, because they come from the past, because they don't wear those clothes. I think we've got to re-examine and look at ourselves. I think that's where we each need to look. And if we each adopt one, each one reach one, each adopt one. And I don't care if it's the most scrubbiest, the worst, because sometimes it's easy to adopt people who are good. It's easy to say, well, they're going to go to Spelman and they're going to go. It's easy to do that. But when we take on those tasks, those difficult ones, then we're really doing, as a Christian or as Islam, we are really doing what is necessary in this world. And so I think we first need to begin at home. And we first need to figure out what we eat, what we drink, where we go, what we say. And I think we need to go back to what we all raised on 50, 60, 70 years ago. I think that's what we lost, that disconnect. But I'm not going out there putting it to the man at this point, because I think that a lot of what we need to do is within ourselves.
Let me segue into that, please. I'm not going to marginalize anything everyone has said. I'm a retired Air Force officer, about to retire again as a licensed social worker. I'm a byproduct of Dayton. I come from Detroit, Michigan. I was around when the technology, the media, and all. Again, the absence of love.
Let me just clarify something. I'll see you, Don. Because a lot of y'all wasn't here when we first started, okay? And when we first started out, I made it clear that we were going to do two things. Okay, we were going to identify the problem. We were going to identify the roots of the problem. And then we were going to talk about solutions to the problem. And I think these brothers have done a very good job articulating how these problems came about. Let me give you an example. The kids listen to hip-hop music, okay? We talk about we need to start with ourselves. We do need to start with ourselves. And this is not just a black problem. It's a human problem. Because we see the white kids acting like the black kids. Everybody's got problems. Now, Paul said there's trouble on every side. Okay? But these people right here specialize in helping oppressed people. And African Americans in America have always been oppressed. And so when we talk about what goes on in the media, the messages that our kids hear, that's what they're talking about. They're not bashing white people. When we talk about what they hear on the radio, what they watch on the TV, the exploitation, the stuff that is purposely put into our communities, that is reality. And see, I'm going to say it, this is what's wrong with the churches, the black churches in America now. Like I said before, when we talk about us, and we talk about issues with us, then we jump out. Because we've been programmed to think that we are bad. And this is something that has almost driven me from the church. Because I was in the world, I smoked crack, I've been to jail, and I understand all the problems that those people out there face. And I come inside these churches, and it's the same old story. We can't deal with that black stuff. The same old story, man, and it don't make no sense. Because the reality is that we are afraid to deal with what we're going through in this country. And so these people that come here, these people deserve our respect. That's what they deserve. And I brought these people here to inform us, to help us, to bring them into our love. Not that they should be disrespected by anybody. This is my church too. My family's been in this church for 7 years. We're trying to define the problem and come up with solutions to the problem. Now, if y'all, come on.
If we want to get to the real root causes of disrespect of this generation right now, you have to talk to this generation right now. If you have questions about why somebody's disrespecting you, don't go ask somebody that's the same as you or the same age as you. Ask that person that disrespected you. 9 times out of 10 is because of what they were taught or what they seen growing up, which makes them act the way that they do. I'm young. I just turned 23 this month. And I can tell you from my experience, disrespect from my generation comes from when the older generations talk at us and not to us. You talk at us instead of having a conversation with us to learn who we are. We are all not the same. Just like none of you are the same. So if you want to get to the root cause of the problem, maybe you need to look at yourself too. I'm here to tell the truth. I'm here to tell the truth. Look at yourself. Look at what you've done in your life. Look at the people that you've taught in your life. Look at the people you benefit in your life. Then you will learn why things are happening a certain way. I've been in Cincinnati all morning with the Crawford family. John Crawford's birthday is today. He would have been 23. I sat there and watched his 2 sons run around the park. And the youngest one continuously asked for his father. And for me, that broke my heart. Because this young man's life was taken for no reason. And he has 2 sons who would never understand why their father is gone. Their father will never be able to teach them how to be a man or how to do certain things. So when we talk about disrespect, when we talk about the root causes of disrespect, we have to go back to when the black man started getting removed from the home.
That's right. Welfare. Remove the black.
When the black man started getting removed from the home, the discipline went with it too. Not in all homes, but in most homes, the discipline went away with it too. I grew up with a single mother. Raised 4 kids. I understand. I know what these young people are going through today. If you really want to understand the root causes of disrespect and of what's going on in today's society with this generation, you need to bring this generation to the table and have a conversation with them.
They were invited. We want to talk about solutions, y'all.
Can I?
Well, we did. The young people were invited. I said the young people work, you don't want that $20? The young people were invited, okay? And not just in the church, but also in the community, Ms. Bells. They were invited.
And I understand it's difficult to reach young people, but I'm indicating if we have a hip-hop summit and not talking at them, let them talk to us. Let them be the panelists. But oftentimes, if we don't have a stereo, we don't have the music, you don't have some pops, that's why I put that, and I think that actions speak louder than words. We've got to start somewhere by bringing some money on the table. So when you sponsor this again, it's going to be in DeSoto Bass or Summit Square with some speakers, and you've got some people that are coming there. They're going to sit up there as panelists and have a plumber and all the police listen to what they say as to what happens to them when they are approached by the police, or how it is that they may need to change their paradigm.
And that's what I know what you're saying.
I'm not, no criticism to you. I'm just saying we've got to stop talking and be about some action.
But I think, sister, I think that
you heard the judge, she ain't gonna plug herself, but I can plug it. We need to get her elected. Yes. Some people say SCLC shouldn't be partisan. They took my 501c3. They can keep it. I can endorse. We need to get her elected judge.
Let me say real quick, to your point, okay? And this is what I spoke on earlier, okay? Especially when we deal with African American Christians. A lot of the churches are so conservative. They so conservative that they don't want to move in that direction.
That's why I'm saying take it to the street.
Right, you're right, amen. I mean, you're right, but we want to talk about some solutions. Somebody want to speak back there? Okay, go ahead, Don. Real brief, because we're running out of time.
About the elders, doing something about the communication barriers between the elders and the young people. And the first step behind that, because something I notice is fear. There's a lot of elders that, I don't know if they're scared or just don't want to say nothing to something else. As I said earlier, if you're not here on the door, if one of my elders and she act like she couldn't say thank you or nothing, you feel me? Looked at me like, I was something that she stepped on. You know what I'm saying? That's not cool. But I think it's a fear factor or something that needs to be addressed with our elders. There's no fear. This is something that needs to be done. It needs to be addressed. We need to get out there, because I do it right where I live at down the street in Wingate. I'm out there and I'm communicating with the kids all the time. They parents, I get on them, all of them. I have no problem doing that. I don't care if it's a 23, 24-year-old and I see him out there, I walk up to him and I say something to him and I address it to him. Because that's me, I can talk to him, but we got to get to that point to where we're able to talk to amongst each other without having a fear of how they're going to take it, but we got to be able to come out of respectful.
You have what is within us. What are we born with? What does our DNA dictate? What does our culture dictate? What does our parents? That's the external. Then we start to get into the external environment. Those two work together. Neither one is more important than the other. So when I hear people use words like self-improvement, you talk about what can I do from within. That's very important. But what is equally as important is what happens in the external environment. I'll give you a quick example. I'd say you can be all about self-improvement all you want to, but if the external environment doesn't give you any opportunities, then you can self-improve all you want to. You're still going to be in the same state that you were in initially. Okay? Science teaches me that to go from one state of being to another state of being, work must be done. There's no other way to do that other than through some type of work, some type of effort. Okay? So here's some solutions. Yes, let's focus on self-improvement. That is important. Brother Donnie here said that he spoke to one of his elders. She looked at him like he was crazy. So what? In my opinion, you did what you were supposed to do. That's really all that's important. That's self-improvement. Okay, so do what you know is right and not worry about what somebody else is doing. Okay, now here's where I'm at, because to me, I got a very good handle on the problem. I mean, it's not my opinion. I like to read the books. I'm like in Hotel. Menez came to Hotel, there was a drought, and the people were dying. And Hotel was his academic at the time. What did Imhotep do? He went to Thebes and he studied the books that were there. And he came back with a solution, and the people were saved because of that. The drought was ended because he did what he knew he had to do. His opinion meant nothing. I'm sort of the same way. So here's what I'm concerned about. I know from what history tells me that a nation cannot develop when it's in a state of conflict. So the first thing you must do is, one of the things that you have to do, in addition to all of the other things, you have to abate that conflict. Police brutality, I describe as political repression. So that's one of the things that we can do. We need to use the correct language. When you use words like police brutality, who are you focusing at? You're focusing at the police. But who controls the police? But the politicians. So when you use the words political repression, you're going to force them to wake up. So that's one of the second solutions. In addition to self-improvement, is that we need to use the right language. And we also need to abate the conflict. So the Constitution tells me is that we have the right, number one, to bear arms. We also have the right to form militias. Now, I know some of this will scare some of you, but I'm a military person too, so I'm taught in how to fight. And I don't mind fighting. As a matter of fact, if there were more of us willing to do it, you can trust me, I will fight. Okay? So that's another aspect of it that we have to start to organize around. You say that knowledge is power. That is correct, but I say that organization is intelligence. Okay? And what we lack is organization. Okay? And so we have to begin to become more organized at all costs. We can focus on the internal, education, coming to church and all this other kind of stuff, and you know, learning those practical things that we can do to move us forward is important. But that just starts the conversation as to what we can do, at least providing some of the solutions.
Okay. But I'm listening to what you're saying. I've been an educator for over 20 years, and education is the key. I've worked with you over at Kaiser many years ago. But one of the things that I would love to hear, because this is the second time this group has been here, and I've yet to hear you say, hey, we need to go into the school system and tell the kids to sit down, be quiet, and listen and learn. Learn what? Excuse me. We're teaching. I'm a good teacher. But we have, and wait a minute, I got the floor right now. Hold on. All over the country, our people have a problem with respect. From kindergarten up to 8th grade, that's where I teach now. The biggest problem we have is you need to go in these communities and tell these kids to sit down and stop playing and listen, because education is the key. Look, I traveled up the East Coast from Florida all the way, and I looked at these communities, and I'm saying these people did not get the memo that there was a recession. I come back to Dayton, Gettysburg, and we're all suffering. Why? We're always blaming somebody else. But if we take the initiative, like she's saying, go to the soda baths, go to some of these areas and say, you guys need to go to school, sit down, and listen to the teachers. That's the way, excuse me. I'm not finished. I teach in the books now. They cover Black history. They cover all this stuff. Over the years, it took a long time, but it's there. But how can a teacher teach when they're constantly disrupted? Kindergarten, how can you teach? And so, the first thing is
talking about a college student that didn't know about the NAACP.
Okay, but I'm saying, asking for solutions. Some of the solutions are, we need to start the kids at an early age now. Going in these communities and talk to these kids, it's an epidemic.
Let me say, you're right. Okay, but let me just say this in all fairness, because I think that this. Wait a minute. Let me finish. Because this is just a small portion of a coalition that works tirelessly in Dayton. And Ms. Bales, you know that. And we do a whole lot of stuff. We do a whole lot of walking. We spend a whole lot of money. We do a whole lot of stuff that these churches don't do. I'm just being for real. So when people get self-righteous, okay, when people get self-righteous and start, looking at groups like this and saying, well, are y'all doing this, or we need to we don't just work on the side of trying to get equal justice for our people. That's just one week he's having a festival, and they giving away school supplies. This brother right here is a scholar, and he works with all kind of kids. So does this brother right here. He works on the school to prison pipeline to try to get kids to intercept kids from going straight from the school system into the prison system. So I brought them here, okay, bits and pieces of stuff. Come on, Pastor, get a pastor.
May I say this?
But let me just say this. If we're looking for a solution, all of us working together, it starts, every child has to go to school, from kindergarten to 12. They have to go. And everybody, our people, we need to stop playing and deal with that education. We need to use that medium. That is the most powerful medium that we have, is the school system right now, because everybody is mandated to go, whether private or public. We got to take advantage of that. And we need to really look at that. Yeah, everything we're talking about, but that is one valuable aspect.
Brother, that is one of the things that's the primary school system working directly with, particularly in Dayton City School District. Trotwood I'm going to speak with Trotwood. Trotwood don't want us in the schools. Because let me tell you something, a particular story about the Trotwood. When my daughter tried to bring a real, genuine Black History program into Trotwood to talk about Black Wall Street, talk about things that Brother Black indicated that a lot of the students don't know. Oh my goodness. She was shot down, not only by the, no disrespect, the white woman who they had running, but by the Black assistant principal. So let's be real clear. So in addition, I'm a mental health counselor. One of the things that I indicated is, to me, it's not your responsibility to deal with that. Where's the counselors in the schools? The true counselors. No, what they are, they're glorified paper pushers. You don't allow us to work directly with students anymore. Because you're too busy. Okay, only thing you're responsible directly with the students, be able to engage with the parents. Because that's what counselor therapists do. I was a social worker. I worked in child welfare for 21 years. I worked in these IEP meetings. I have, insofar as in terms of advocating for students that were on IEPs, that were not getting their needs met within the school system, have gone through the due process in order for them to get what it is that they need. This is what we do in racial justice. Now, so one of the things that I challenge you, my brother, is to put people back into school systems that they have taken out. We don't need any more, and let me tell you, my husband is a security resource officer in the school. We don't need no more of those people. We need actual mental health counselors within the schools. Not just any old mental health counselor, don't just throw South Community in there. People that are culturally sensitive to our children. So, you're right, we do, it's not about sitting down and shutting up either, because we also got to deal with how do we engage our students. Are we just thinking that it's going to be this, sit down, shut up? Children don't operate. Children have different ways of learning styles. We can't just sit down and shut up and listen. What are we doing as educators? How are we engaging the students?
Pastor and all of those who spoke on love in collaboration. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the solution to our problems, 95% of our problems can be solved by us uniting, coming together, pulling our resources and doing something for self. If we want a solution, we don't really have to think of any solution. There's already, we can use other nations as an example. In America, I went to Philadelphia and I've been to New York. In both of those cities, they have what's called Chinatown. Chinatown. Like Black Wall Street, we used to have Black Wall Street, they got Chinatown. Once again, this is the Chinese people who are in America, but they have separated themselves to their own people. They don't seek justice coming from outside of the community. They implement justice within their community. You see what I'm saying? So our problem is that we're here on the west side of Dayton, and there's no businesses on the west side. So what are some solutions? The black church, every Sunday, Saturday, black people congregate in the church all over this country. Think about that. If the black church, as my brother passed on, and we recognize plumbers in the church, there are black engineers in the church, there are black educators in the church, but there's no black telephone book that we don't even know who these people are. And so the problem is that as black people, it's not about hating anybody else. Nobody's talking about the white man just because they hate the white man. We don't care. The white man can do whatever he wants to do. But our problem is we love the white man more than we love ourselves. And so our issue is, and as I was saying about the curriculum, you know, I'm talking about, we can educate them, but don't educate them to be black white people, or give them a cultural. If I open up a yearbook, I'm going to look for my picture. So when I get these history classes, I'm taught about everyone else. Brother Marlon talked about Imhotep. I can guarantee you ask our children, have you ever heard of Marcus Garvey? Do you know who Ida B. Wells is? Do you know who Fred Hampton or Mark Clark is? Our children don't know our history. Our children don't know our history. We are depriving our children of a foundation that they can grow off of, because if you know what our people have been through and what we have overcome as a people, then our children will embrace that, and it will motivate them to overcome any obstacle that's in their path. But when you deny them the knowledge of themselves and then allow the enemy to come in through the airwaves, as I was just saying, to push this thug life, and then we wonder why the young people are the way they are. And I'll end with this. Our young people, they're in the right state of mind, and I have to agree that we can't tell them to sit down and shut up. The elders need to sit down and shut up and listen to the young people, as Brother Anthony was saying, because the young people are on to something. When you see them in Ferguson, they're not doing the wrong thing, they're doing the right thing. They're doing the right thing. And for us to not support and back our young people as they march towards justice, I mean, I just don't understand at this point in time, in 2015, where you see white people. Let me just tell you that the majority of white people are very, very angry. They're very angry. They see Mexicans coming in, taking their jobs. They see black people coming in. We speak for them, we defend them. They're not even here defending themselves. Let white people speak for white people. We can't speak for them. We don't know what's going through their mind. But they're very angry. And so if we don't begin to look internally and do something for ourselves, and we continue to leech off of the white people, continue to beg them for jobs that they cannot supply, then we're going to have a serious war in the street. Blood will flow in the street. You can take this as hate if you want to. But this is a reality, brothers and sisters. We have to do something for ourselves. So I just want to say the solution is it's simple. We come together as a family, as Muslim and Christian regardless. Because the Nation of Islam, we go into the hood. We don't have the problems that you all are talking about with the young people. They love the brothers and sisters. You know why? Because we're keeping it real with them. They love our brothers, the Black Panthers and the Legion, because keep it real with the young people. Because you know what, when you go to them, they already face discrimination. They already know what you're talking about. But what we say to them is that, like you all saying, you can't blame other people. Now you have to begin to pull yourself up and come together with your own brothers and learn something of yourself. So with that, brother, the solution is look at Chinatown, look at Little Italy, look at the Jews in Israel. They are self-sufficient, and they supply jobs to take their children out of the ghettos, out of the streets, and we can't depend on anybody else but ourselves. And you might say that sounds racist or whatever, but here's the solution. That is the solution. Thank you.
Before we go, I'd just like to recognize I couldn't handle it, but it was only because of you that we came out of those things. Thank you, Lord. Bless this church, bless the pastor for allowing us to come into his sanctuary. Lord, thank you for all you've done for us. Forgive us for our sin. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Came out to our program, and I was just visiting with your mother this week. I'm going to call her when I get home and tell her I saw you both. Have a good
really emanates from the attack that is on our community. And I'm talking about white supremacy, I'm talking about racism. Many people don't want to talk about it, but we have to understand that we as a de facto nation, I'm talking about the black community, is in a state of war. We're looking at political repression, we look at educational malfeasance, we're looking at poor economic conditions in the urban communities. And all of these things are happening by design. So first of all, in order for us to even begin to build respect, we have to stem the tide of the onslaught that's happening to our communities. So we have to fight back against the political establishments, the criminal justice establishments as a whole to end police brutality. We have to fight back against the educational system for failing to educate our children. We have to look at the welfare system for failing to create incentives for people that are on the welfare system to come off of the welfare system. There's some other things that we need to do as well to stymie that tide, to set us up in an environment that we can begin to develop. And when I say develop, of course, disrespect is one of the, or being respectful is one of the aspects of development. But it's hard for any nation to develop itself when it's in a state of war. So we have to look at it from that perspective and begin to stymie the attacks that are being levied against our people. We have to properly defend ourselves and go on the offensive when necessary. So those are just some of the things we have to start in order to be able to further develop ourselves.
Denzel Kambizi of the Earth and Temple Seventh-day Adventist Church. We had a wonderful meeting. It was really good, enlightening and sharing and collaborating together as to how we can empower our community to get better, to be better. The seminar was on, building up respect as we destroy the culture of disrespect. It was fiery, it was passionate, because all of us care about the subject. It is good to find and to meet with some group of people who are as passionate for such a subject as respect at such a time as this. We have work to do, and we need each other.
Publisher and editor of the Dayton Weekly News. The discussion today was good because we need discussion, but what we also need is action. We have a lot of problems within the core of the African American community, and much of it is generated by the lack of understanding our history. And discussions like this help us understand and hopefully open doors that will allow this generation and generations to come to understand our greatness and move on that.
I am attorney Mia Wortham-Spells, and I too think this evening's program was wonderful. I think that we need more of these programs. My kudos to the organization that had this. I think that we first take steps to examine what the problem is. The second step is to address those problems with some action. I think it's incumbent upon us to work out of the church into the streets, into the community, and try to strive to get solutions to some of these issues. We have poverty, we have education issues, we have family issues, we have disintegration of the family, and I think that we're taking small incremental steps to try to address these issues and to look at what we can do, to stop the disrespect and to bring back families and to bring back black lives, because black lives do matter.
I'm the lead organizer for the Stop Mass Incarceration Network Miami Valley. The program today really brought out truths within the black church, within the black community, within the black neighborhood, and within the black family. Truths that need to be spoken on in an open environment where the true feelings can come out. Being a youth, one thing that we are very clear of, we know who is real and who is fake. So we approach the situation in a different way.
My beard to look like yours. Is it coming?
So,
shall I shave it off?
Coming to this program and speaking on the disrespect, it's not that we're being disrespectful. This is how we deal with our issues. Just like our ancestors dealt with their issues in their specific ways. Each generation is different. And this is how we express ourselves.
When I grew this beard,
finished up a discussion on the causes in combating disrespect. And our focus on this combating disrespect was the disrespect that many of our elders see among our young people. But what we have to begin to understand is what causes respect, what causes young people to be respectful. And when we look at the condition that we're passing on to our young people with the lack of unemployment, with the lack of a strong family structure, with the lack of unity, then we can't demand out of them respect when we're not doing that which commands respect. So, you know, if we want to get respect out of our young people, then as the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Honorable Louis Farrakhan state, is that we need to unite as a people, come together, pull our resources, and do something for self. As we begin to build up our communities, particularly on the west side, and we begin to support black businesses, those black businesses can then in turn employ black youth, taking the black youth off the street. Another thing that we have to understand is we have to control the institutions that are in our community. We have to control the educational institution. We can't send our children to learn about George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and all these other people, but never learn about our struggle and what we have overcome as a people. Never learn about the struggle of Ida B. Wells and her fight against lynching. Never learn about the struggle of Marcus Garvey and the UINA. Never learn about Imhotep, a master architect and genius in his time. And so if we want to get the respect out of our young people, we have to deal with reality, not what we would like the world to be, but we have to deal with the world as it is. And at this moment, our young people, they don't have these fantasies of what they would like the world to be. They are in a reality that is showing them that the only way that they can get any type of justice in this society, it seems, is to be in opposition to the society. So what we see in Ferguson, what we see in New York, with these uprisings, which the newspapers would call riots, but these uprisings, these are young people saying that enough is enough. But the problem is that they need guidance, and what we would like for young people to do is that on 10/10/15, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan is calling for the return to Washington, D.C., where we're asking for justice or else. Justice or else. He's asking not only black people, not only black men, but black women. We are also inclusive of our Native American brothers and sisters, of our Latino brothers and sisters, our La Raza brothers and sisters, and poor white people to come to Washington and to